I'm looking at the administrative procedures, and it says the individual will receive an increase of 5% of their current salary.
Which, are you looking at 1410?
I'm looking at 1120C.
No, it's
compensation plan for administration. Well, it just says it's titled promotion, demotion, and laterals.
What I can say is that procedure was recently updated, and I believe that they forgot to pull. We aligned it with compensation. It was updated.
So we literally just had this conversation with Ricky, but So what I don't like to do is get into the microphone and say, here's what I see, and then that's not the case, and you're telling us that it's this, and I'm seeing that it's this. That's problematic.
I understand. So what I can say is that the procedure was established last year recently. Last year to address in May, we did set it at 5%, and then what we for promotions. However, for all of our other positions, it's a 10% increase.
So what's the justification to move from 5 to 10?
Okay, I'm explaining. The justification is we received multiple complaints. Multiple complaints were surfaced to the superintendent about the fact that the exempt employees only receive 5% when all of the rest of the employees receiving 10%. So at that point in time, I was directed by the superintendent, it was back in January, to start looking at that and determine whether or not we should move that 5% back to 10%, which is what it was originally. And so I started that process in January. I can show you the receipts back and forth between me and Wallace to document the change in that procedure.
I don't need the correspondence between you and Wallace. What I need is for it to be in the board.
In the policy.
I understand it is. If you look at 1410, it's in there. Wallace and the policy team forgot to remove that procedure. When we tied it to 1410, which is compensation, the procedure that you're looking at was not removed. And so that's a mistake on the part of my team, okay? They should have removed that other procedure because this policy is directly related to compensation. So if you look, 1410, we have a procedure that clearly outlines exactly what I'm saying.
I see 1410. I also see 1120. Oh, thank you, Mr. Shively.
Yes, sir.
I want to go on record and say, Mr. Shively, I really appreciate what you do. I know that you work really, really, really hard. So I wanted to make sure that I made that really, really clear, is that I do appreciate the work, but understand the positioning that if we're hearing that, you know, there are either pay inequities or, you know, and we're working to right that, right? I think the comp study, again, we know it takes a while, but I think that that's going to do a lot to help us to start to developing plans for writing compensation for this district. So I appreciate that. But understand that, you know, when I'm hearing all of these conflicting things and then I see two policies two procedures under the procedure manual and they're conflicting, you know, that you got to respect that gives me pause. And I'm not saying that, you know, we're not calling out names of whose fault it is. It doesn't matter because you're the HR manager, right? And the buck stops with you, right? And so I wanted to make sure that was really, really clear that I do respect what you do. I do respect your work, and I recognize that you work really, really hard. But that's kind of the position that I'm taking.
Our goal for the last couple of years was to provide transparency to this process, because when I arrived, the biggest complaint that I received from individuals who talked about our processes was the sort of lack of transparency around pay increases and things along those lines. And so in 2024, in May of 24, when we initiated that initial plan, the procedure that relates to that, it really was for the first time defining these aspects. And so I would be happy to sit with you and to show you exactly.
No, we've sat together. That's why I'm saying. That's why, like, I know what goes on behind this. Like, I get it, but understand that that's just where I was coming from. But we don't have to sit down. Like, you're working. Like,
Yeah.
keep working.
But we do need to make sure that our policies are all, as we're changing things and re-upping things, making sure that everything coincides
It's
to make
just a
it.
promotion. It's not just a pay raise.
And you know, Superintendent, I appreciate those comments, and I'm never about the person. Like,
Right.
it's
No,
never
me
about the
either.
person. It's
No.
always about the process, and also the transparency aspect of it. So that my comments will never be about a specific person. It will always be about a process, and the
yes.
transparency of said process.
And I think that's what's important, is that we can point back to an
Yes.
objective aspect within our procedure that we're tying them to, rather than just saying, oh, because we feel like it's the right thing to do. And so what it appears happened was that we forgot to pull the other one when we put 1410 up. And that
There is more transparency today, more accountability today, more oversight today than certainly there was 8 years ago or 18 years ago, right?
I appreciate you, Superintendent, but I think there's more transparency because this collective group is demanding more transparency.
Yeah, that's,
So
I'm not claiming credit for the transparency. I'm not claiming credit for anything. All I'm saying is there's a lot more today because of your questioning than there has been in the past.
Right.
All right.